I'm not doing this in a vacuum. I've had debates with these prophets and apostles, and I've talked to numbers of them. And what I like to do is back them into a corner.
In what way?
I say, when you prophesy, are you speaking inerrantly, perfectly, and infallibly all of your words?
Without error.
Without error.
That's the key thing.
Without mixture or error.
Yep.
And they say no. They won't say yes.
Yeah.
They have to admit no, because most of them were given false prophecies have been proven false. And many of these apostles that couldn't describe Christian theology if they had to, okay? And so they can't teach the truth. They can't prophesy correctly. And so they admit that what's coming from their mouths is mixture.
Yes.
All right? So then I say, then I can ignore everything you say. I have no reason to submit to you, because God says that apostles or prophets that speak in error, don't fear them. Don't listen to them.
Prophets speaking in error. I want to throw this in. I don't know where it would ever fit, but I'm going to throw it in. I read your name in the newspaper this week. I was reading an article about a prophecy having to do with I-35, relating it to Isaiah.
Isaiah 35:8.
Okay.
No, you got to get this.
Oh.
I mean, you have to be a prophet to see this.
No, this is out of control, but I saw you. Okay, tell us about that.
Well, I got called by a reporter, and I ended up quoted in the Minneapolis Star and Tribune. Some prophets looked at Isaiah 35:8, all right? And it says that there'll be a highway of holiness.
Okay.
Now, it's referring to something that's going to happen during the millennium, after
Yes.
Christ returns.
Yes.
Well, Isaiah I-35, the freeway, 8, 2008. So we're going to have a great revival up and down I-35W in 2008.
Bizarre.
Now, doesn't that make perfect sense?
Oh, my.
Now,
your comment into the newspaper was?
I told them that God doesn't work based on the U.S. highway system.
Exactly.
I told him, he didn't quote everything I said, obviously, but I said, Isaiah 35:8 doesn't have anything to do with I-35W. What kind of biblical exegesis is that? And they actually got people driving up and down this highway, according to the newspaper,
That's
because
true.
they're looking for the revival and they're praying, and God's going to come and do this great revival, starting up and down I-35. Now, this came from some prophetess by the name of Cindy Jacob and some others. And this in the front page of the local section of the paper, this brings disrepute to the gospel.
But that comes right out of this kind of stuff.
The way they use the Bible is like it's a magic book.
Yes.
You use it to do your divination.
Yes.
What did Isaiah mean when he wrote Isaiah 35:8? What did the Holy Spirit inspire him to say?
Right.
And what is the valid application of it?
Yes.
But that doesn't matter. We don't care about that. Our prophets told us it means I-35W.
Oh, my.
And so I was plenty glad to be quoted in a paper saying that this is not valid. This is not right.
Well, for breakfast reading in a morning paper and seeing that thing,
it said it's I-35W, the highway to salvation, or something like that, or the road to salvation.
Well, anyway, had to bring that up. That wraps up that part of the prophets thing. Bob, we've got one more thing. We don't have too much time left in this segment, but you quoted 17th century mystic Jane Lead, and I thought, where is this going, and what's her connection to all the things we're talking about? Why did you introduce her?
Well, Jane Lead's writings are available on the internet because the Latter-day Apostles and Prophets movement, the followers of it, thinks that she was a great prophetess. So they're getting her writings and putting them on the internet.
Wow.
And she's from the 1600s, and she had a prophecy in 1679 that predicted that there's going to be an elite church that will arise at the end of the age. It's going to be greater than any church that ever existed. And a lot of these prophecies that she put forth, there was a 60-point document, okay?
Ooh.
And a lot of these prophecies are the very teachings that you find later on in the Latter Rain movement and the New Apostolic Reformation. Now, I can't prove that they actually got them from Jane Lead, but I can prove they know about them because they're the ones publishing this.
Well, what did she go back to come up with the idea?
Well, she was a mystic who just gained revelations.
I think you made a comment about something to do with the 7 churches in Revelation.
Oh, yes. She believed that the 7 churches were 7 church ages. And because the Philadelphia church was not rebuked for anything,
yes,
her and some other people were in this thing called the Philadelphian Society.
Okay.
All right. Now, they were descendants of mystics like this Jacob Boehme, who was a pietist that we talked about.
Yes.
And the Philadelphian Society and the Theosophists. And that's still around, the Theosophical Society.
Yes.
She was a part of that. And she was giving these grandiose prophecies about an elite church that's going to be the incarnation, virgin born, so on and so forth. And any kind of a high-minded elitist idea about spirituality, that's what Jane Lead had to say. And if you don't believe me, just Jane Lead, Leade, just go Google that up, and up will come her writings.
60-point prophecy. Wow.
Yeah, and if you Google the 1679 60-point prophecy in the Philadelphian Society, you'll find this document on the internet. And I quote some of these in my article, some of the points that she made in her prophecy.
All right. You're going to tie this, and I think we're going to probably end with a couple comments right now. You're going to tie this to the latter rain movement somehow. How?
What I'm going to show is that conceptually it's the same thing. I can't prove, because you got all the way from 1679
it's a big gap.
to 1948.
Big gap.
That's a big gap. And she was in England, and her writings were published. And I can't prove that William Branham or Warnock or some of the principles of the latter rain actually got their stuff from Lead. But I can prove that they're the same ideas.
Your comment from the paper, I'll read one sentence. The church must be perfected on earth before Christ can return, and this shall be accompanied with miracles and power greater than at any time in church history, including Pentecost. That's the basic underlying.
That's the idea that Jane Lead prophesied about, and that the Warnock wrote in his material, and there was the latter rain idea, and it's the idea that's propagated under the auspices of the new Apostolic Reformation. Now, let's hold that, and we'll probably come back and pull a few pieces out of Lead next week.
Okay.
But let's think about something. I was just down in Barbados speaking on this, because this movement's coming into Barbados, and they asked me to come down to help fight it.
Wow.
Okay? And here's what I pointed out when I was down in Barbados. This doesn't actually happen. They're claiming there are going to be greater miracles than even happened in the Bible that Jesus did or that anybody in the book of Acts did.
Wow.
And they've been claiming this for years. I heard this 30 years ago. All right?
Yes.
And they were claiming it in 1948. They were claiming it in 1679. Where is it? Where is it? Where are these guys walking on water?
No.
Okay. Why aren't they emptying out the hospitals of all the sick? Why aren't they taking and doing all these miracles like Jesus did? Their miracles are things like leg lengthening and slain under the power.
Yes.
Those aren't miracles.
No.
Okay. And they're not doing it. But the people will keep going to these meetings and giving their money to these false teachers and believing that any day now, any day, we're going to have this, it's going to break out on history, and we're going to see people doing all these miracles. It's just total fantasy.
Wow. Huh. We're going to leave it there for today. We'll pick it up next week. For those of you who might want to contact us or visit our church, we're Twin City Fellowship in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our telephone number is 952-935-3100, or you can find us on the web at cicministry.org. For Critical Issues Commentary, this is Dick Kuffel.
And Bob Dewaay.
See you next week.